Participants Avery argues for limiting H-1B visas. Blake argues against limiting H-1B visas. Avery, let's start from first principles. A visa that ties a worker to one employer can tilt bargaining power. If firms know workers can't easily switch or exit the country, they can offer lower wages or fewer opportunities. We also see cases where entry-level programmers face wage pressure when employers hire on H-1B instead of training domestic grads. If the policy's goal is to help American workers, isn't the straightforward step to limit the number of H-1Bs? Blake, I get the intuition, but the big picture is different. The most credible designs, think lottery variation or city-level exposure to foreign STEM, consistently show that high-skill immigration raises innovation and productivity. Patent output increases, startups form, and productivity improves. Those outcomes don't just help immigrants. They correlate with better wages for many native workers over time. If we limit H-1B broadly, we risk shrinking that innovation engine. Avery, not all the evidence points the same way. At the firm level, when companies win extra H-1B slots through the lottery, we've seen signs of crowd out. The firm hires fewer other workers than it would have otherwise. If each additional H-1B displaces more than one domestic hire at that firm, and if innovation effects are modest, why should we expand access? A targeted limit could protect early career workers in sensitive occupations and give firms stronger incentives to invest in training. Blake, firm-level crowd out in a particular study doesn't automatically translate to economy-wide harm. It's normal for a marginal hire to change a firm's internal mix. The question is whether total output, innovation, and downstream employment grow. City and industry-level studies show that more foreign STEM workers increase patenting and productivity, and average wages don't fall. In other words, complementarities dominate. High-skill immigrants often enable larger teams, new products, and exports. That expands labor demand. Avery, but distribution matters. The average result can mask losses for specific groups, like recent CS grads competing for junior roles. We hear reports of wage undercutting and rigid career ladders. Some employers seem to prefer temporary visa holders precisely because those workers have less mobility. If a subset of firms is using H-1B to hold down wages, limits, or at least stricter enforcement and higher wage floors are reasonable. Blake, I agree on wage floors and enforcement. The right response to potential undercutting isn't blanket limits, it's better rules. Higher required wages, stricter labor condition attestation, faster portability, so workers can switch employers without jeopardizing status, and serious penalties for abuse. With those guardrails, we retain the innovation benefits while reducing any substitution at the bottom of the ladder. Avery, another concern. When H-1B is plentiful, firms may underinvest in domestic training. Why create apprenticeships or mid-career reskilling if you can file for visas instead? Limiting access could nudge companies to build local pipelines, partner with community colleges, or invest in on-the-job training. Blake, there's a trade-off. Training takes time, and some skills like advanced AI safety or specialized chip design are scarce now. If you block access today, you slow teams, push projects abroad, or encourage offshoring of entire units. We've observed that when visas tighten sharply, multinationals shift inventors to other countries and spread R&D across borders. That makes collaboration harder and can permanently move value-added activity out of the United States. Once teams disperse abroad, bringing them back isn't trivial. Avery, you're assuming spillovers are large and recapture is hard. But if H-1B caps are calibrated, say prioritizing the very top of the distribution while limiting bulk hiring through intermediaries, you could reduce the risks you're describing. We can also differentiate by wage percentile or occupation, making sure visas flow to truly scarce, high-impact roles rather than just expanding headcount in commoditized tasks. Blake, a priority system tied to wages and skills makes sense. Many proposals would auction slots, set salary thresholds, or prioritize advanced degrees. My point is that broad limits are blunt instruments. If you cap too low, you suppress innovation, nudge firms to build overseas labs and weaken local ecosystems, universities, startups, suppliers. The path that protects domestic workers and growth is access with conditions. Wage floors indexed to local medians, portable status to curb monopsony power, and real enforcement capacity. Avery, let's talk about timing. Suppose the economy is soft and entry-level markets are weak. Isn't that precisely when limits help, by reserving scarce roles for residents and citizens? Blake, short-run labor market conditions matter, but high-skill immigration is a long-horizon growth policy. Many of the gains show up in multi-year patenting waves, platform companies, and knowledge spillovers. If we slam the brakes during a downturn, we harm the recovery's innovation capacity. It's like cutting R&D because quarterly profits are down. Tempting, but strategically unwise. Avery, then what about worker protections directly? You mentioned portability. If visas were fully portable, say a 90-day grace period to switch employers, some of my bargaining concerns would ease. Pair that with clear wage floors set above the prevailing local salary and a ban on no-poach or repayment traps, and we might not need low caps. Blake, exactly. Those reforms target the mechanisms behind potential abuse. Also, consider domestic pipelines as complements, not substitutes. Fund apprenticeships, green card recapture to reduce backlog uncertainty, and scholarships for citizens and permanent residents in shortage fields. The evidence suggests that local training plus selective high-skill inflows is a win-win. Avery, final thought from my side. There are edge cases, body shopping, lowball prevailing wages, and captive employment relationships that erode public trust. If we don't curb those, political pressure for hard limits will grow. I'd accept higher or stable caps only if enforcement visibly tightens and portability is real. Blake, fair. My closing point. The center of gravity in the research is that high-skill immigration, of which H-1B is a major channel, supports innovation, productivity, and, over time, broader wage growth. Limits should be surgical, not blunt. Keep the door open to scarce talent, set serious wage standards, empower workers to move, and punish abusers. That's how you protect domestic workers and keep the innovation flywheel turning in the U.S. Avery. Then we agree on a practical synthesis: targeted safeguards, stronger enforcement, portability, and calibrated prioritization, rather than sweeping cuts. Blake, exactly. That approach minimizes the real risks you highlighted while preserving the benefits the broader economy depends on.